Hey, everybody, welcome back. It's the SCB Steelers Podcast presented by DEK Roofing Incorporated of South Florida. We are very proud to be part of the Variety Sports Network. And, of course, the show originates from the Bradshaw Bourbon Studio. And it appears that one of the four is running late. That must mean one of the kids is not asleep. So I'm sure Ian will be in here shortly. Ben and Scarps are here to guide us through the middle of week 3 and week 4 as we head into week 4 here of the National Football League season. Hello to everybody out there that has joined us live, and hello to everybody that tunes in at your own leisure. We love having you guys and really, really encourage you to join us live. It's a great time. We got a good group of people here. Very, very grateful for all of them. Talked to our good friend and podcast sponsor, John DEK, last night for about 20 minutes. Pretty sure he was half in the bag the whole time, but that's okay. That's pretty standard for him. Wanted to wish everybody well. Of course, his Dolphins are off to an amazing start, and that's really all he wanted to talk about. So he can screw off. Anyway, the Steelers are 2-1. Folks, they're 2-1, and my gut feeling says most of us probably would have taken 2-1 at this particular juncture. So I guess we'll just go from there, and let's welcome in Ian to the show. Juncture. I like to say juncture. I'm not real sure why, but I do. And real quick, what is everybody drinking tonight? Let's go with Ernie Stoutner.
I'm out of Bradshaw, so I guess we're going to have to pivot to the Calumet 10-year.
Very nice.
Which is quite delicious, I might add.
10-year. Oof,
yes.
Man. Tasty vittles right there. Scarps, what are you drinking tonight?
A little ranch water seltzer. I'm very enjoy that.
Ranch water seltzer. Yeah.
He's really into the seltzers lately.
He is.
Watching the calories,
That's right. At
Watching
your age,
your
age, my man, you got to watch those calories. Ian, what are you
called
drinking
you
tonight?
old, Scarps.
I've got some Oktoberfest here, so cheers.
Little Oktoberfest, very good, very good. I do have a. This is all I have left in my Bradshaw right now, but I do have a bottle in waiting for me. Friend found some at a local store, and I need to pick that up the next few days, and so I'm very, very excited about that. Mostly because it's going to be available here a lot easier than it has been. So, and I see Wayne has got a glass of Bradshaw tonight. So excellent. Love it. Fantastic. So, all right, you guys ready? We got a new tradition going here. Our little rants, if you will, to start off. I mean, normally you do a rant following a loss.
Was that a tradition?
It is now. This is week 3 of.
I think it's okay when the team plays like shit to rant about it.
So do you want to call it something different, or do you just want to get rid of it?
No, it's fine.
Okay.
Let's just roll with it. But if we're really going to rant, I think what we need to do is have Craig on here sometime. Give him 120 seconds to go off. And then, we'll go from there.
Yeah. You're right. You're absolutely right. I can't. There's nothing I can say, Ben, to even possibly retort that at all. Okay, so how about we do this? How about your initial thoughts as the Steelers are 2-1? Ben, go ahead and give us your initial thoughts on the black and gold right now.
Initial thoughts on the black and gold. They didn't play a very good offense. TJ Watt is TJ Watt. I mean, what more can I say? Why are you drinking that shit, burner? I expected him to be a little more productive, honestly, because he was going against a rookie. But in fairness, the rookie had had help the entire game. And TJ still had a huge game. The DBs were productive, but 3 picks, but also gave up an awful lot of yards to a quarterback who's not all that great. Now, Devontae Adams is amazing. Holy crap. I cannot say enough about how good that guy is. My God. But yeah, the rest of their team, it was kind of an uninspiring performance. And the offense is not good. The offensive line's not blocking well. Kenny's bailing out of pockets when he shouldn't be. Najee's got nowhere to run, and he's also lacking burst. So if he had room, would he get a lot of yards? I don't know. He did. I remember one play where Najee literally made 3 guys miss and barely got back to the line of scrimmage. That is fucking ridiculous. And that is on the offensive line. I am sorry. You got to give the guy a little bit of room. And I'll stop there.
Yeah, yeah, very well said. I'm not going to even add to that because I know the other guys want to go too. Scarps, go ahead. What do you got?
This team is still not very good. Their offense stinks. They beat a bad defense, so kudos to them. The O-line is such a disappointment. Najee is such a disappointment. Pickens is fine, but they don't have a lot of playmakers on O. And as Ben said, Kenny is bailing on clean pockets. Anytime there's interior pressure, he poops his pants, and he throws the balls directly to cornerbacks now. And this defense,
Canada did have a bad game, Burner. He did have a horrible game. It was awful. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. And I do want to give a little bit of credit to Canada because I think he did the things that he needed to do. But it's if you look at the tape, it's still bad. And then on defense, I think that the Steelers defense, despite having TJ and Alex, and if we didn't have TJ and Alex, we'd definitely be 0-3. They've been very fortunate these last 2 games getting turnovers, and because that stuff doesn't happen all the time. And a couple years ago, they led the league in forced in turnovers, and they got smacked by I think it was the year they got smashed by the Browns in the playoffs. So 2-1, take it with a grain of salt. This team is still not good, and I don't know if they're ever going to be good. So don't be fooled.
Dan, you're on crack. Clearly.
Ian, what do you got for your thoughts?
This team showed signs of life and signs of looking like an actual NFL football team. It wasn't consistent. It didn't happen a lot, but it's like the first time you go out and play golf during a year. You hit like one good drive, you hit a couple good iron shots, you make a putt of about 7 feet, and you're like, hey, I can come back out and do this again. If I had done all that on the same hole, I would have made a par instead of shooting 120. So, but it keeps you coming back. And we need to see consistency. We need to see them, string things together. But the offense had multiple drives where they actually looked decent. They had, Boswell bailed him out with that long ass field goal, which I can't believe he made that. But nevertheless, they showed good signs. The defense is incredibly inconsistent. They gave up a ton, but also produced some turnovers. So if you're going to give things up, you want to see them still take the ball away. Levi Wallace had like the best bad game of a career or worst good game of a career that he got absolutely torched, but also had 2 picks.
Cheers.
So one or the
2
other.
picks and like 180 yards he gave up. I was like, what the?
I mean, if you would have told me Devontae Adams was going to put up that many yards, I would have been like, we're screwed. But I mean, this Raiders team is basically like a good wide receiver, a good running back, one good defensive player, and a bunch of trash around them, including Jimmy Garoppolo. And too. So, it is what it is. We won, which is what matters at the end of the day. It got closer and more exciting than it needed to be because we didn't keep our foot on the gas pedal in the 4th quarter and let them back in it. Although the Zebras helped a little bit, which, chalk up another one on my board of another ref that I have now a gripe with, but nevertheless, and
a long fucking memory too.
Yes, I know. We're 2-1, which is the same that can be said for the Baltimore Ravens, which is the same that can be said for the Kansas City Chiefs and a lot of other teams around the league too. So
the Browns.
We're okay.
I mean,
it's not the end of the world. We're winning. We're playing bad football and still winning games. So if we can start to play good football, eventually, maybe we'll actually be a good team.
hey, if the playoffs started today, we'd be the second seed.
I just want to, but the playoffs don't start today. It's week 3. I
week-
just want to
heading into week 4, man.
real quick, and
I
I
just
want to
wanted
disagree. I want to disagree with Scarps and Ian, and probably you, Mark, and Burner, and everybody else who said that Canada had a better game. No, he didn't. Watch the All-22. It's terrible. The only thing that is different in this game is he ran play action 8 times. That's it. That's the only thing he did. And yes, Kenny was highly effective running play action. He was 6 of 8, had a touchdown. I want to say his passer rating was 135 plus.
Very high.
On BLP,
He did great on those 8 attempts. But other than that, it was terrible. It was horrible. The route concepts were shit. He didn't give Kenny any windows. He was bunching guys up together. There was one play where there were literally 3 receivers inside the numbers on the same side of the field, not in the middle, but right on, like on the right side. I was like, who the fuck comes up with this? Did they all look at the field and run the wrong route? Or is this the way they were coached? On top of that, they're running into 8 and 9 and 10 man boxes. Kenny's coming up to the line of scrimmage. He obviously cannot audible out of it because it's a 10 man box and they still run the play. It's a run play. Why the fuck would you do that? If that were Ben, he'd be like, yeah, you got a hot route, you're gonna do this. He'd probably call the routes at the line of scrimmage and it would still work.
And it's funny because they put up more points, even though they barely put up. They just got the 23 against Little Sisters of the Poor defense. It's terrible, and yet fans were like, "Oh, Canada definitely didn't call the plays this game," and it's like, what? Like,
yeah, he did.
Yes, he's calling the fucking plays, and like just because they executed a little better. And I do want to say this. I do not like him, and yes, I think he sucks. But I just want to say that on that play action touchdown to Freiermuth,
that was good.
You could see it happen, and as soon as Kenny didn't hand it off, I was like, if he don't fucking throw a TD here, like he's never going to throw a touchdown because you could just see the defender was late recognizing it, and you just knew it. So kudos to Cannon on that, but it's just I found it amusing that right away people were like, "Hey, something was up with them plays after that first quarter." I don't think Canada was called him. I think somebody else was. It's like, oh, because your little boy Kenny did a little bit better. He didn't do it without Canada. Get fucking real, people. Like, come on, man.
Yes.
Like, Christ.
Yes.
Hey,
you guys are not very sunshiny tonight.
Progress can be measured in many ways, and
incremental progress is a good thing.
Look,
that's true. You're right.
I'll take it, and I do understand this was a lesser opponent than we've seen the first 2 weeks. I understand that 100%, but I can you imagine the conversation we'd be having if we would have lost that game? And wouldn't have done anything offensively. I mean, so I'm not singing his praises by any stretch. I agree with Ben. There's a long way to go here. But I'll at least take a little bit that he adjusted to play action. There was none of the jet sweep shit. He actually got creative. He had a nice little play where I think it was Austin came back around on an end around and they faked it, dumped a little screen to Warren, who got a few yards. So I look, I'm not gonna put Matt Canada in the Steelers Hall of Fame anytime soon.
Why not?
Well, Ian, let me tell you. No,
Ring of honor, babe.
Right. So I'll take the little steps. Let's just put it that way. One other thing to discuss on that was Pickett, and we all have talked about this before. And Ian, I'm going to go to you. I don't, is he panicking or what's happening when he just bails out of what looks to be a pretty clean pocket?
I want to hear this.
So, I mean, I think what's happening, to be honest, is that he's got a clock in his head and he knows. I mean, we talked about early in the year before the season even started, these first 3 weeks with Bosa, Garrett, and Crosby, they were going to have to do some things. It was a tough road of pass rushers
Mhm.
that he was going to have to go through. And I think they specifically told him, like, you only have so long before Max Crosby wrecks your shit. So if you don't see on your first read, like, go away from him, get out of there and see what you can make happen.
So you would say, Ian, that it was more about, is it more about him being coached with that clock in his head and then he's just, or yeah, is that what I'm getting?
I think a lot of it is coaching, especially given
Okay.
how many rollouts and everything they called. I think he still doesn't trust his offensive line. But
Yeah,
also there's, they ran a lot more designed rollouts this week than they even did last week. And they ran a couple last week.
Not all of those were designed.
Well,
No.
right, but some were.
Somewhere.
And a lot of it was just to try and get him away from Crosby.
Right.
And I wonder if
Sure.
it's partially because they don't really trust Dan Moore to hold it down over there.
Well, I know James Daniels has not practiced yet this week. And that's going to be huge. Tomorrow's a big day. He needs to practice if he's going to play. And if not, then I assume we'll see Nate Herbig. So which might be okay. I'm not saying James Daniels been bad by any stretch, but I don't know how much we'd be losing there. But
I think that Pickett doesn't trust his line. I think he's conditioned to the fact that he's going to have to run, and he's bailing on pockets. He bailed on clean pockets, clean, no interior pressure, nothing. Yeah. And he bailed on in situations where Crosby was nowhere near getting him. And he's doing the same thing. He's running at defensive linemen. He's running at edge players as opposed to running around. He's making it easier for them to get to him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Scarps.
Is I don't know, somebody on Twitter told me this week that I tweet daily about how much Kenny sucks, and I've never ever said he sucked, nor do I tweet about it daily.
Hater.
I have my concerns about him, and I've always felt that he was limited to a certain extent, but I'm starting to really, really think that this coaching staff is just not good for him. And I'm not saying they're the same player, but I look at Zach Wilson for the Jets, and you can't tell me that Zach Wilson doesn't have talent. Like, I'm not going to believe that. But I feel that, like, they've just instilled in him, like, this sort of, like, do not turn the ball over or we're not going to win the game. And they're doing the same thing to Pickett, essentially. And they did it last year, and I still think they're doing it this year. And earlier on, when they signed Alex Highsmith, I said, hey, they are all in on defense. They are absolutely banking on defensive play, limiting the opponent to under 20 and hoping that they score more than 20. And, people on Twitter were like, well, no, they're not all in on defense. What are you talking about? This offense is, you're sleeping on this offense. Nobody's sleeping on this offense. Nobody's
actually, many people are sleeping while this offense is on.
Nobody's sleeping on this offense. Nobody is afraid of this offense. No player is afraid of Kenny Pickett or Matt Canada. Like, they're just not. And you know what? The Raiders do stink. Let's be clear. But I'm going to tell you who's better than the Raiders and is not going to give up that fucking long-ass touchdown is the Houston Texans. D'Amico Ryans is a defensive-minded head coach, and he's going to put that in. I'm going to pick for all the haters, because I'm a hater. I'm going to pick the Steelers to win this week, but I'm going to tell you that the Houston defense is not going to be as soft as Las Vegas was.
No, I agree.
And Pickett, I'm telling you right now, Pickett is in for another tough game, and it's going to be even tougher. And when you, I would just sorry, when you go like, I'm trying to think of, like, I've never obviously played at any level that was any good, but like, just imagine you were good at math or whatever, or spelling, and you're going to win the spelling bee, but your teacher says, you know what, maybe you should let somebody else get a try. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like you're stunting someone on purpose because you don't want to you don't want to see them fail, or you don't want to see them succeed, which is so fucking stupid to me. But then it's like, why keep Matt Canada? Why would you keep him around? Like, if you want to unleash Kenny Pickett, Matt Canada is not the coordinator to do that.
No, and I think that probably is a longer discussion. I do want to get to a couple of the comments.
I just want to get to
digress.
one thing real quickly.
Yeah.
The knock on Pickett coming out was that he bailed on pockets too early.
It was.
One. And
Yep.
two, I'm going to agree with Melvin in so much as they needed to do more designed runs, actual designed runs for Kenny Pickett.
Yeah.
He needs to take off and run a little bit to keep the defenses honest. Instead of just going straight at him, they have to stop and consider, is this guy going to run? And I'm stopping there. Question.
Yeah. I just wanted to, some of the folks in the chat were just talking a little bit about, if Presley Harvin doesn't go, that means not only do you lose your punter, but you lose
Brad
your
Wing.
holder as well.
They know him well.
Yeah, Brad Wing has been in before. We know him pretty well. I always get concerned when that sort of thing gets messed around with, because the snap, the hold, the kick, there's a lot of routine, a lot of practice that goes into that for those guys, and when there's a disruption, it can mess with things. But I feel pretty good about this if Wing has to be the guy. I'm not going to worry, especially since it's going to be indoors too.
He hasn't punted in a game in years, though.
Oh no, I'm worried about him punting. I'm not so much worried
bad.
about if he has to hold.
Oh, okay.
Right. Yeah, that
sorry.
Oh yeah, punting.
When was the last time he punted?
I think 2017.
No,
he was with somebody recently. I thought somebody go to the data and figure that out. Offensive line wise, Ian, is it time to see Broderick Jones?
No, Scarps is right. The last time he punted was 2017 for the
Holy
Giants.
shnikes.
Is that off the top of your fucking head there, Mr. Mustache?
That's amazing.
Wow.
Mr. Mustache.
No, I remember, dude. So, real quick about Brad Wing, super nice dude.
You know what? I'm thinking of Barry. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. Brad Wing, super nice dude. I tweeted this years ago. I was like, we should have never got rid of Brad Wing. We should never traded him. But Jordan Berry outperformed him that one camp, and we traded him to the Giants. But one thing, and this is random about Brad Wing, but he had he had a little bit of some off the field issues, some maturity issues. Nothing
at LSU, right?
Nothing great, nothing terrible, but he was sort of painted in a light that wasn't so positive, but he was nothing but nice. And the one thing I remember so much is he had a little boy, and the kid was cute as hell, and he loved being a dad. And now that I'm a dad, I remember it just because so when the Steelers we signed Brad Wing, I got a little in the feels, a little nostalgia, because he was a really good dude, and he was actually a pretty good punter for us. I think he set the record for net average in a season, and then Barry broke it. But both of those guys are wonderful, and they're both Aussies, and hell yeah,
Put another shrimp on the bobby.
Wing's only 32, so let's hope he kept his ass in shape, and they can still punt the ball.
I'm assuming he did, or else they wouldn't have called him. But then again,
like Scarpini.
Ian, let me take it back to you. Are we ready for Broderick Jones?
God, please.
Yeah, I think so at this point. I would. Yeah, I mean, we've seen a lot of Dan Moore, and he struggled against some really good competition. Yep. But nevertheless, it's time. It's time. And maybe I would not be shocked to see Dan Moore start once again this week. But it could be a situation kind of like we had with Presley Harvin at the start of the season, where it was he gets called out by Tomlin in his press conference, and it's kind of you're on a short leash here, kid, and if you screw up, you're getting replaced. And I don't know if it's that bad with Dan Moore, but I think the time is coming soon if it's not there now.
Is it possible too that they could be maybe looking at the bye week, since the bye week's just 2 weeks away?
That's very possible. And you've got that Ravens game looming too, and I don't know if you want to make a change going right into the Ravens game, but at some point, it's going to be his time, and it's just a matter of time.
Ben, what are your thoughts on Jones? And then I would also add, does that mean Moore potentially could move over to take over for Chooks?
If Chooks were injured, I don't think they're going to move him over there this season, to be perfectly frank. It's time. And the reason being that Dan Moore has given up more pressures than anyone in the entire league at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, as Ian pointed out, he's played against some really good competition, but he's playing really badly. And you have to look at it from the standpoint of, will it get worse? We got this first round pick who's going to replace this guy anyway. Why not let him learn some lessons in the field, on the field, in the fire? Let's see how he does. He may learn some hard lessons this year. Then again, he may learn to use his length and his strength.
Yeah.
To his advantage and win some too. And we already know he can run block, and we're not getting that out of Dan Moore right now.
No.
So that being the case, at least we're doing that better. We're doing something better.
Yeah.
By putting Jones in there. I don't think, you're going to lose a hell of a lot there. He's still going to give up some pressures and probably some sacks, but he'll get better by the experience. And that's why, to me, it's like, fuck it. Let's just do it. This offense, frankly, isn't very good anyway.
Yeah.
You're not going to get worse by putting Dan Moore in, and Matt Canada's gone next year anyway, and he's going to have to learn an offense. At least he'll get something out of this year by playing.
Yeah, I'm with you. That's kind of where I'm at. I anticipate it's going to happen during the bye, but I would be okay if it was this week or next week. So Scarps, did you have a thought on Jones?
Yeah, I just what's the average length of an NFL career? Like 3 years, 3 years, something like that.
Yeah.
So for the folks saying, "Oh, there's time, there's no need to rush," I agree. I'm not saying you had to trot him out there week 1 or whatever, but I've seen enough or less than enough from Dan Moore to say that I want to see what my first round pick has. And you know what? I'm okay if my 4th round pick that played admirably here for a couple years is a depth piece, and there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
And again, I'd rather know this year what I can see, like what does Jones have this year, whether or not they get a new coordinator. So just put him out. You can't. It could be worse, and if it is,
you can always go back.
Teaching moment for Jones.
Right.
Hey, man.
Right.
It's all good. People, this happens to the best of them.
Absolutely.
But we're gonna give you some mental time. We're gonna give you some some second team reps. Get your confidence back up. Whatever.
Jamie, I don't know if he's or Jamie. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. I'm sorry. We're not big fans of PFF.
PFF sucks donkey balls.
Yeah, we are.
I said it, Johnny. Drink.
Yeah, drink, Johnny. We have numerous issues with what they do, and you will not hear us ever cite their statistics.
Why is that? Why do we have a problem with that?
Oh, well,
I'll just cut right to the chase.
Sure.
Their grades don't reflect contribution to wins and losses. Their grades reflect whatever the fuck their secret sauce is, and they won't tell anybody.
Right.
So it's like you get guys that are super productive versus guys that are not. For example, week 2, when we played the Browns, they gave the one of the highest grades they gave out for the week to Myles Garrett. He had 1 sack, 2 pressures, and 1 tackle. They gave lower grades to both Highsmith and Watt. Those 2 were highly, highly productive. Contributed a great deal to that win, including 14 points. And they scored lower. So it doesn't make any fucking sense.
And furthermore, right, there is no way that anyone sitting in a PFF office or anything like that knows what a player's responsibility is on any given play.
That's
because it can change very quickly. And yes, Collinsworth owns PFF, and that's why you see it used exclusively. Sunday Night Football, they used the little rankings there under the guys' names and stuff. At least they used to.
They still do, but the reason they do it is Collinsworth gave that to them for free.
Oh yeah,
because he was trying to promote his own thing.
Sure,
which makes sense.
Right, he owns it.
Good for him. Marketing.
Yeah, I get it. I just think it's a flawed product. But
the one thing about it, and Myles Garrett is a hell of a player. I mean, there's no doubt. There's no doubt about it. And
Great player.
He's a great player.
Yeah,
He's not very productive against the Steelers. Is all.
No.
Well, no. So here's the way I look at that: is that whatever his pass rush win rate or whatever the fuck they were saying it was. Yeah, you know what? He was disruptive. There's no question. There's no question. And I don't necessarily care about stats. But when you look at it, it's like, okay, Alex Highsmith had a pick six and a strip sack, and T.J. Watt had sacks and he had a touchdown.
Mhm.
It's like, okay, how are you going to grade those guys lower? So like here's an easy thing that would probably make PFF more credible is rather than give out number ratings, just give out grade ratings. And if you do, you say, hey, TJ Watt and Myles Garrett were both A players this week, or sorry, TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith were both A players this week, and we're going to give Myles Garrett an A- because he was very disruptive, but they fucking lost the game. Like there has to be something there, like because I'm going to tell you this right now. I mean, I was a fucking 4.0 student in high school, but you know what? A 91.5 was an A, and so was 100%. I don't give a shit. Okay, I don't give a shit. So like, why? So like, why are you making it so like? And then like, you're right. It's so fucking arbitrary, and it's just like whatever. Like, and then they die on. I give them credit though. They will die on their own hill. I give them credit for that, but it's annoying.
See, Scarps was one of those low A kids. Yeah, I see what's going on.
Fuck
here.
yeah, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Anything else you guys want to talk about on offense? I had a few items on defense for sure.
I'm glad they finally took a deep shot to Calvin Austin. That was nice.
Yeah, it was. That kid's got wheels. Woo!
Yeah,
that
he
was
can
nice,
float, man.
Even if they had missed that, but it had been close, the threat of it happening again would have been enough.
Yeah,
make sure those DBs were back there.
Yeah. I tend to agree there. Yeah. Defensively, I when you look at the snap counts, it was kind of interesting to me anyway. The inside linebacker rotation. Elandon Roberts. I mean, obviously, Mark Robinson is kind of the odd man out of the four right now. He did get 4 snaps on D, but Roberts, I think, he was like 18, 19, 20, somewhere in there. It was mostly Quan Alexander and Cole Holcomb. Ian, do you think that is based more on the flow of the game? Is that kind of what the rotation's going to be based on?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the fact that Mark Robinson had 0 defensive snaps before this week was kind of ridiculous.
Odd.
Yeah, especially kind of given the teams we played and the competition. So, I don't know why he wasn't playing more, but that was also like the one position that we didn't have any injuries somehow, thankfully.
Yeah.
So given that, I'm not going to complain too much about it. Although I think we're starting to see like the communication improve with these guys, and we're starting to see slowly, but still starting to, them start to play more as a unit together. So there's encouraging signs between the inside linebackers as they are, but they've still got a good amount of work to do to be a competent unit.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. It's you're right. It's a work in progress. No doubt about it.
Hey, how about that play that Holcomb had where he knocked the ball out of Adams' hands and literally whacked him at the point of the ball as opposed to hitting him in the chest? He hit the ball first, knocked the ball out of his arms, and didn't draw a flag. Initially, they were like, no, it's a flag. And then they looked at it again.
They did throw the flag.
They were like, no, actually, there's no penalty for unnecessary roughness here because he hit him about here.
Oh, excuse me.
The bottom of the numbers.
And his head was up too. He had his head up.
I gotta give
shoulder.
Him good hit. And actually, the NFL recognized him for that this week.
Did you know about that? That's the first I've ever seen that.
Award.
I didn't know what the hell that was either.
It basically was kind of awarding him for quote unquote doing it the right way.
Is the week 3 recipient of the NFL's Way to Play Award, which recognizes NFL players who exemplify proper technique to make impactful plays.
Yeah, I mean, at first I saw that and I'm like, okay, this is kind of cheesy. But then I thought, no, it's actually good. It's
great.
good. Yeah. Encourage guys to do that. So, I loved it. My immediate thought was when I saw it was, come on. I mean, they're going to flag that. And then of course,
they picked it up. They did the right thing in the end.
They did. They absolutely did. And that was the best scenario in that, particular way. Did we have a baby screaming in the background? I missed that.
It was mine.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to hop off for a second. I'll be back.
No worries.
He's got to go change a diaper.
It could be.
Hey, shit. You got to do things sometimes. You got to do what you got to do.
Life gets in the way. Even
it does.
This show,
life is messy.
Yeah.
So are diapers.
Are they?
Oh boy, they sure can be. My God, it's amazing what comes out of those little people. That's true.
Yeah.
You guys alluded to this. I think Ian is the one that said it, but Levi Wallace had like the worst 2 interception game a guy has ever had.
That first pick was fucking great. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Where did that guy come from?
Yep.
Great
positioning.
He gave up like half the passing yards. We had 325 passing yards. And I bet you he gave up half of them. I was just like, dude.
As much as Collinsworth annoys the shit out of me, I thought he was
a guy annoyed by Collinsworth.
Yeah, I thought he was okay on Sunday night. Because he kept emphasizing, like, this is what I was talking about earlier. Like the Steelers have been fortunate on defense because he was emphasizing about Jimmy G and was talking about like, hey, here you do, if it's not your first read, it's Collinsworth is kind of like Casey, but he's like, if it's not,
there is a little similarity.
He's like 1, 2, buckle my shoe, and if and he basically said. And he said, if that first read isn't there, do not go to your second read, throw it away. And literally on that Levi Wallace interception, first read wasn't there, and he fucking tried to fit it in.
Point.
And Jimmy is not that type of quarterback. So that's why I said I think the Steelers have been fortunate. Again, why the Browns went empty on the first play on Monday Night Football when the Steelers rush defense sucks and they had Nick Chubb is beyond me. But kudos to the Steelers, and even Levi Wallace, who he still sucks. Don't get me wrong, but having 2 picks, one that sealed the game, good for him. And Casey will touch on Patrick Peterson a little bit later. But yeah, I even the Holcomb hit, it was a good hit.
It was great.
You know what though? Getting back to Jimmy G, and Collinsworth said is like there was no reason to lead you do not lead Devontae Adams into that fucking area, man.
He set him up.
He set him up, but you know what though? Hey, don't apologize for playing a shitty team.
I think that Jimmy G probably thought that he would have time to secure the ball. And Holcomb timed that hit perfectly and aimed right for the ball. He didn't aim for the player. He aimed for the ball. I got to give him props.
Yeah.
Burner, I'm going to disagree with you about Collinsworth over Romo, specifically because Collinsworth kept trying to give
fellatio to certain players.
Well, yeah, he
come on, it's
I'm
true.
I'm sorry.
There was that, but I've never heard Steel Dad say anything like that on this show either. That was amazing.
I kept it clean.
Sure, filleting someone.
The medical term.
Yeah. Okay.
Here's a guy that read the dictionary.
Yep.
My word of the day.
So Collinsworth kept going. Yeah. Well, this is classic Steelers, Raiders. Toughest man wins. He keeps trying to give credit to the defenses when the quarterbacks just were not playing very well.
Good point.
And it was like neither one of them were playing worth the shit. And I'm texting these guys during the game. I'm drunk. Yeah, he keeps trying to give the defenses credit, and they suck.
No, you're right, but that's classic.
Collinsworth.
Classic
he's like
Collinsworth,
he's trying to sell this game and build it up into something that it's not. And I'm watching it going, dude, shut the fuck up. Jesus. Who's that? Where's that shirt that Dan made? Shut the fuck up, Collinsworth.
Yeah, that's right. We got to get those back out again. Well, Jamie just took my comment and really went with it. So good for you, buddy. Good for you. Nice job.
Yeah, that's the worst thing that Mark has ever said in this show.
Apparently it is.
Donkey balls. Drink,
right
Johnny.
Right now, Aaron is working on his little TikToks for our site. I can already see it coming. I have to probably write a letter of forgiveness or something. Anyway, what about Pat Pete, though? I mean, I know, Scarps, you're going to touch on it when Casey enters from the grave. But, I mean, did you notice they did rotate him back to safety a little bit? Looked like it was in a couple of dime situations.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care where he is on the field. He's not good. I'm trying to be nice about it because he was once probably the best cornerback in the game at the time. And he was so dynamic. He was an unbelievable punt returner. His pedigree, you know, Tomlin loves talking about pedigree, but like his pedigree was great. But he is just not there. He might make a play every once in a while, but he is going to give you, as Casey will touch on this later, he's going to give you not looking for the ball while it's already in the receiver's hands for a touchdown more than he's going to give you a good play.
Well, and his play along with Wallace, you know, leads me to what Melvin just mentioned too. You know, if you look at the snaps for JPJ, they have doubled now each of the first 3 weeks. You know, he has seen a little bit more. Now, if you pay attention, a little bit of that is based on the flow of the game, because it seems like they're just using him mostly in dime. And they went more dime as the Raiders were throwing a lot more to try to catch up. But you know what? He arguably did better on Devontae Adams than anybody else did when he had the few opportunities to lock onto him. So I don't know what that is. I don't know about Desmond King either. I mean, we saw him as a kick returner Sunday, but you know, is he going to get some snaps on defense, and where is he going to get snaps? Are you guys concerned about slot corner at all?
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't think Sullivan's. Oh, Ian's back.
But
Camera's
not in the camera.
Yeah. Ian's refilling his beer. So
all
turn
right.
his camera on in a minute.
Yeah.
Priorities.
Sullivan's not good in coverage, and Elijah Riley doesn't really seem better in coverage. And so, yeah, to answer your question with one word, yes, I'm worried about the slot.
I am too, and I'm not overly impressed with him as a blitzer either. And I realize we got spoiled. You know, Mike Hilton was really, really good at it. And we've had some other guys in the past that were good at it, but he got stonewalled several different times coming off the edge or coming on a little move to the inside. And that's a position of concern for me right now too.
Melvin, are you asking about putting Pierre in the slot? I hope not, because no. But I mean,
no, I think he's talking about on the boundary.
Should Pierre get more snaps after last week? Yeah. He played pretty well, arguably better than either one of the other two boundary corners. I mean, Pierre's had some gaffes too over the years. Let's not forget he's had some really bad games.
Yep.
But yeah, he did have a week this last week where he looked pretty good. So yeah, maybe that's deserving of some more snaps. Joey Porter Jr. also looked better this week. I think he gave him one reception for 12 yards.
Yeah, and it was one of those really tight throws.
Yeah.
He had pretty good coverage. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, all of that happens. And, he didn't have any ridiculous holds that would have been DPI if it was a decent throw.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask, Scarps, I'm going to ask you this question.
Yeah.
Have we appreciated Chris Boswell enough?
You haven't.
Oh,
Sorry.
there we go.
Sorry, Scarps.
Scarps, go ahead. I'm asking you.
Yeah, I had my eyes wide open because Ian was throwing some shade. I appreciate this chat.
He's throwing
tonight.
that at me.
Yeah, that was directed at Mark, not Ryan.
I would say so here, yeah, I don't know if we appreciate him enough. And the reason I say this, and I've talked about this on the show, is that in 2015, I was always in charge of doing player bios, and there was nothing worse than signing a veteran punter, kicker, or quarterback because you had to do all these fucking weird ass stats. Okay,
Right.
and we had Sean Sweezum, and everything was great because his bio was updated. But then he got hurt, and we signed Garrett Hartley, who was in the league like 8 years. So there went my fucking night at training camp, and then he got hurt, and we signed Josh. We traded for Josh Scobie,
Oh, that
etc.
was
and so on.
wonderful.
Goby
Josh
Doby
Scobie.
Dope.
Jesus.
And so when we signed Boswell, I was just so happy that like he had no experience. It was like 15 minutes and I was done. It was a Saturday and I didn't want to be there, and I was just like, oh fuck, this guy's got no experience. I'll knock this out quickly. But since then, he has made a really nice name for himself.
Yeah.
He's one of the most accurate kickers in Steelers history. I don't think he's the most accurate, but he's going to probably eventually be the all-time points. Is he already all the all-time points leader?
No,
gonna
Gary
be.
Anderson is.
Yeah, okay.
See,
That's
but
what I
he's
thought.
gonna be.
Gary. Gary Anderson. And so that, I don't know why I said that, but whatever. They fucking so Boz will probably go down as the Steelers all-time best kicker. And so I will say this, he's had some ups and downs, but like, man, I'm gonna tell you this right now. Talk about Tomlin living in his fears. How many times he punts from inside the 40, and I'm just sitting there, or inside the opponent's 50,
Right.
and I'm just sitting there thinking like, just let fucking Boz kick it, man. He's probably gonna make it.
Well, he did. That 57-yarder was clutch, man.
Yeah,
he
he would have made that from 63.
He would have. I mean, he just crushed it, and I always just get so damn nervous on those. Not even because it's Boswell, just because it's anybody. And I mean, God, you're turning the ball over in such good field position, and the way kickers are in general these days, you need 10 yards, and it's a makeable field goal. So I bitch about Boz from time to time, but man, he's been worth his weight. Despite a couple of seasons where he dealt with some injuries and stuff.
He's been a good player. He has. But to
yeah.
answer Claude's question, no, the Boz is not a Hall of Famer because there's this guy in Baltimore who's really fucking good at kicking.
Nice,
Aaron.
Yeah, look at Aaron, Mr. Stats.
He's going to prevent the Boz from getting into the Hall of Fame, unfortunately.
Yeah, and look, as much as I dislike the Ravens, there is no argument for me whatsoever about that.
It's pronounced Ratbirds.
I'm sorry, yes, Ratbirds. Look, Tucker's just great. I mean, it's all there is to it. Ian?
Melvin has a good point here because I wondered about this too. That did Tomlin send Boswell out there for that 57-yarder because they were indoors? Like if he's outdoors, I don't know if he makes that kick.
Oh, I mean, you're right.
Especially at our place.
In Pittsburgh in November, does he make that kick?
No,
probably not.
Probably not.
But in Vegas, in September, in a dome,
in Atlanta, in any month. Sure.
Yeah. Well, we've already played one in a dome. We've got a dome this week. We'll have another one when we go play the Rams, I believe.
Yes.
So yeah, it's unusual the amount of domes we're seeing this year. We don't usually see this many, but so yeah, I agree. I think that's a good point.
Yeah, it is an excellent point.
Yeah. Go back to Jaylen and Najee, and I don't want to get Scarps overly fired up here, but
Najee lover Scarpino.
Actually, Ben, I'm gonna go to you.
Oh, come on.
Well, you've made the comment. You think that he's
in decline.
And
I said it over the summer, and I stand by my statement. The dude is in decline, and I like Najee, and I want him to do well.
Yeah, we all do.
He's a smart guy and he's a likable person, but and his offensive line is not performing well. They're just not opening holes for him, like I talked about earlier in the show. There was one play where he made 3 guys miss in the backfield and got back to the line of scrimmage. That's fucking ridiculous. You shouldn't have to do that.
No.
You should not have to do that, okay? But I look at him by comparison to a guy behind him in Jaylen Warren who was undrafted. Najee was a first-round pick. Warren has got incredible burst. He gets the ball, boom, 2 steps, he's at top speed. Najee ain't that dude. He's got side to side. Obviously, he can make guys miss. He's got power. He still has good hands, but he does not have speed. He does not have get off. He doesn't have anything right now. And it's like, dude, I mean, I know your offensive line sucks, but you got to show us a little more than that. And it's really hard to pinpoint what's wrong with his game, because he's running against, like I said, these stacked boxes because Canada will call the play. Kenny walks up to the line, and he obviously can't change it. He may see 9 guys standing there, and he can't change the play, which to me is fucking ridiculous. But he can't. And then he hands the ball to Najee, and Najee gets nothing, which is predictable because, hey, it's Matt Canada, and you got when we call the play, we expect you to run this play. Anyway, long story short, at this point, I would give Jaylen Warren more snaps. I wouldn't turn him into the starter.
No.
But I would give him more snaps and see where that goes and see if you get better results as a result, as a result of the change, if the outcomes are better.
Scarps, you're not on the Najee bandwagon per se either.
Per se.
Yeah. I was trying to be nice. What do you think? I mean, are you on the side that Warren should be getting more snaps?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, just like Pickett, Najee's a classic example of hate the pick, not the player. And they could have this. Oh, okay. The O-line sucks. They're the biggest letdown this offseason. There's no question. And I'm not saying that it's all Najee's fault, but I'm going to tell you this right now. You watch, Jahmyr Gibbs for the Lions, who I thought they might have reached on him. But then I'm sitting there thinking like, wow, this dude is fast as hell.
You can see why they made the pick.
So David Montgomery just scored his 3rd touchdown of the night for the Lions. But David Montgomery is not fast like Gibbs. But those guys, they know how to balance those two. And here's my point. If you're gonna invest a 1st-round pick in a running back, that dude better be a fucking game breaker. And Najee is not a game breaker. And we fall in love with the stiff arms and the hurdles and all that bullshit. And you know what? I don't care about any of that because Jaylen Warren is faster. He is stronger. He's more explosive.
I don't know that
he's more stronger.
He is not.
Bullshit. He hits that hole and he hits fucking people. When have you ever seen Najee? Okay. When have you ever seen Najee Harris actually get fucking in there? Please.
Najee Harris is 240 pounds. Jaylen Warren
plays like he's 205.
210.
Actually, if he played like he's 205, he might be a little bit faster. If Trent Richardson 2.0. There we go.
I'll tell you another thing.
It's not Trent Richardson 2.0.
Watch the All-22. You will see Najee is not hitting holes because he's trying to bounce it.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. Yeah.
I think it's his eyes. I think his eyes are in the wrong spot. He's not seeing what he's supposed to see, and if he sees it, he doesn't trust it. Would
you?
I mean, I mean, how many times have we seen the?
I'll tell you what. I'm gonna tell you. If Najee Harris is watching this podcast, then we got bigger problems than I thought. Okay.
Whoa! This is a high quality Steelers podcast right here.
I agree with Roman. Najee should drop 10 or 15 pounds and get lighter, but he feels better at that weight. So he says.
Yeah.
All right. How many times have we seen the Najee against the world running play where it's him and 6 guys from the other team are in the frame of the picture?
Happens twice a week.
Other linemen, right? Some of them are,
or our linemen are laying in their backs.
yeah.
Number 61 in particular. I'm like, dude, what the fuck? Would you block someone?
Some of them are self-imposed, that he tries to bounce things outside or go a different direction.
Oh, that's brutal.
There were plays in this past game where like all the blocking was moving to the left, and for some reason he tried to bounce it back to the right where the unblocked guys are coming from, and I'm like, this makes no sense.
Yeah.
So either he doesn't understand the play call and he's running a counter when it's supposed to be like everybody, it's like student body left, let's go,
right,
and he's going right, or he doesn't trust his eyes, that he's like, I see this, but I don't trust it. I'm going to try and do it on my own. Whatever it is, it's just not working.
Yeah, like the whole thing just isn't working. I agree with you.
Yeah.
And maybe they just don't trust Matt Canada. God knows we don't fucking trust him. So maybe that has something to do with it. Honestly, this week, Merrill Hodge took the Steelers wide receivers to task for jogging on routes. George Pickens, first among them. And basically what his point was I don't know if they don't trust the offensive coordinator or the play call or whatever else. I don't care. You're a professional. You need to go out there and haul ass, play full speed every snap, because you are a professional and you are helping your team by doing so.
Yeah, I agree with Hosh 100%.
And Roman, I agree. Our low line does suck right now, and the schemes suck. I totally agree. But when you're a first round pick running as a running back, you got to show me something. And he's not showing anything. And I'm not saying he has to be Barry Sanders, but it's on my mind. The Lions are playing tonight. Marshawn Lynch and Barry Sanders were talking earlier. Barry Sanders had a terrible offensive line, and the dude had 15,000 rushing yards. And I'm just like, you have to have something that you bring to the table where you're breaking tackles or you're missing this or you do. And and here's the thing. If Pickett isn't allowed to audible out of an 8-man box, or not, however many people are in a box, then shame on the Steelers again. And you know what? But still, Najee has not shown me enough.
Yeah, I think it's fair. I really do.
And 1,000 yards in back-to-back seasons, 1,000 yards in 17 games does not mean anything to me.
What does that mean now? How many yards a game?
That means nothing to me anymore.
What is it? 60?
Not 60. It was 64.
Listen, super nice guy, good teammate,
58
all that stuff.
Yards.
Great story, but it's
58
just not
yards
enough.
and change, and you get 1,000 yards in a season.
Shit. Pickett's a first-round pick. He hasn't shown me anything.
Before we talk about,
that's because you're a hater.
No.
Before we talk about Houston a little
hater.
bit, one more thing, and I want to get your takes on why they are not letting Kenny change the plays.
Because they're stupid.
Yeah, well, let's get a little more in depth than that.
Because Matt Canada sucks and they're stupid.
That's what I was looking for. Let's move on. I mean, Ian, do they not trust him? What's happening here? Because I go back to that very first series, 3rd down and short. I mean, the Raiders have the box packed, and we still run Connor Hayward right up the middle.
That was so stupid.
Yeah.
That was really, really friggin' dumb. It's either they don't trust him. It has to be it's either they don't trust him, or Matt Canada thinks he's just smarter than everyone, which is fucking stupid because he's not. And so, I don't know. Like, I could understand it with a rookie where you're like, okay, here's the play, just go out and run it. Like, make sure you don't get a delay game, get us out of the huddle. But like, he's in his 2nd year now. This was his 16th game, 17th game, like right around there. You gotta let your guy go out and like read the defense and actually make some adjustments too.
I don't think we're talking about the Ben Roethlisberger level here, where Ben can just go muddle huddle and start telling every single guy what to do on every play.
I'm not fantastic. Like, Ben would break the huddle early on purpose so we could get to the line and read the defense.
Yes.
And go, you're running this, you're running this, you're running this, and you're running this, and tell them, and the defense could hear him, and it still worked.
Yes, and I'm not suggesting that that's what it's got to be, but he's got to be able to say, "Look, they've got this play defended. I need to get out of it." That just drives me insane.
For the and Ben, I know you're gonna say when I say this, but for the most pro-ready quarterback
Oh, come
that
on.
was supposed to be so smart, right? He was supposed to be so smart and so cerebral, and they don't trust him enough to go up to the line and say, "Well, shit, we shouldn't run the ball right now." That is very, very concerning.
Again, I'm going to come back to this point again, okay? It was a horrible fucking class. Terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Most pro-ready does not mean ready. And yeah, do I think they should let him audible? Abso-fucking-lutely. He is a smart player. He is a fast guy. Give him an opportunity to sink or fucking swim in those situations. You get a 9-man box, a 10-man box in that situation with Hayward you just described a minute ago.
Yeah.
You change the
Terrible.
fucking play.
Yeah.
Use a hand signal. You do something to tell this guy out here on the edge that he's got a hot route and he needs to go. And I'm gonna learn play action.
Yeah.
Connor's not getting it, but I'm gonna keep the ball and I'm tossing it out to you. We're getting the first down. That was the dumbest fucking play. I was incensed.
And I know he didn't pick it off, but that play, he threw it right to Marcus Peters.
Yeah.
And
thank God he didn't catch it.
Oh, that's
okay.
A different game.
I know. I mean, that
was a pick six.
And that would absolutely have changed the whole game.
Yeah.
But
we might have very well lost. It was early, but still.
The funny thing about it, though, is that they had Connor Hayward like lined up on the outside, like he was the furthest wide receiver. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, why the fuck is he lining? Whatever XZY, whatever shit. I don't know what the Steelers terminology is, but I'm telling you, he was the furthest wide receiver.
Yep.
He was the closest wide receiver to the out of bounds line, and they were not on the same page. And then I'm sitting there thinking, like, why the fuck is Connor Hayward your first read when he's the outside receiver? Like, to me, like, and I'm going to tell you this right now, defending Kenny Pickett, I know I'm a hater, but Kenny Pickett's not that dumb, right? Like, Kenny Pickett's not drawing up that play.
Right.
That's Matt Canada. And
right.
So for everybody give him credit, and I gave him a little bit of credit because I don't want to be a full hater, but like, that is, take that play out of your playbook, man. Connor Hayward should never be on the outside, man. Like, what are we doing?
You can put Connor Hayward on the outside if you want. Just don't make him the first option. You know what I mean?
Okay, fine. But like really, you really want him on the outside?
If you've got Connor Hayward on the outside and Marcus Peters is covering him, you have a mismatch somewhere on the inside.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
So
you don't use the
take
inside.
advantage. You take advantage of that fucking mismatch on the inside someplace because Connor Hayward is not your number one option.
No,
he's like your fifth.
You want to see how they match, just like people want to see how we match.
Exactly.
Well, he was the number one option, and it almost ended terrible.
I know, dude. I know. He was the first option on that play. He was the first read, and I agree with you. Absolutely fucking stupid. You never do that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you can line him up on the outside. He just shouldn't be your first option. Like Canada's trying to like outsmart the defense by like, yeah, I've got my guy out here versus their number one corner, but nobody thinks we're going to throw to him. So I'm going to think that number one corner is going to take the play off, and I'm going to throw to him. What?
Yeah.
What?
It's a classic case of overthinking, I think.
It's a classic case of shitty fucking offense.
Well,
is what I think.
Yeah.
And one last thing is that what made Ben sick and okay, Ben was, even though Ben didn't throw that much, he was so much better than Pickett. Like, let's just be real about it. But
his rookie year, you mean?
Huh?
His rookie year?
And 2005, his first 2 years.
Yeah.
He was set up, though. He was set up to succeed because the offensive line was really good. And Jerome was at the tail end of his career, but Amos Zaroué wasn't a bad running back. And he had Plax his first year, not his second year, but he had Plax, he had Hines, he had Cedric Wilson, he had Heath, Jeremy Tooman. Like he had guys, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And the Steelers tried. I believe the Steelers tried to replicate a similar type of scenario for Kenny Pickett, except that Matt Canada is not Ken Wisenhunt.
No.
Pat Freiermuth is not Heath Miller.
Nope.
None of these guys have the stones that Hines did. George Pickens is pretty good, but the rest are all whatever. The offensive line isn't as good.
Do you remember 2005, which would have been Ben's second year?
Yep.
Yes.
And they started the year, and Deuce Staley was supposed to be the starter.
I forgot about Deuce. My bad. I forgot about Deuce.
He got hurt.
Yep.
And then Jerome was the starter by default, and then he got hurt, and Willie Parker was the starter for a couple of games and blew everybody's socks off with his burst. And after a couple of games, you get to the end, you get to the press conference at the end, and Cowher says, "Yeah, Willie's our starter. We're done. This is the guy now."
Yeah.
And after that, it was Willie, Jerome, Deuce. Deuce was the 3. He went from first to third because he got injured.
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
Can't make the club if you're in the tub.
Entirely shocked if we saw something semi-similar this year with Jaylen overtaking Najee and, it becoming more of a 1-2 punch, but Najee becoming more of a situational runner than an every down back.
Mm-hmm. I get the feeling that's what it's headed for. It just, now obviously Warren didn't get as many carries this week as Najee did, but he did get 3 or 4 receptions. Najee didn't have any. That's
the other thing too, is sorry, I know we got to talk about the Texans.
Yeah.
And I got to take a potty break. Not that everybody knows, but
we got.
That's the other thing too but they
Scarf's got to take a dump.
No, it's definitely not a dump.
Just so you know.
That's a huge dump. But no, that's the other thing too about Najee. To me, he's best is when he's in the open field. So throw a fucking screen pass every once in a while to the guy. That's what I'm saying. He is struggling. The line is struggling. So try to build a little bit of confidence here, man. Give him a stiff arm, give him a hurdle. I'm waiting for that. I joke about it on here, but give the guy some reason to succeed.
You're talking about setting a guy up for success.
Yes.
And we don't do that very well. I mean, but
look who the coordinator is.
That's what I mean. And that's what's so frustrating when you watch what Kyle Shanahan does and when you watch what McDaniel down in Miami does. Yes, they've got tons of speed, tons of talent on these offenses. I understand that. But they also get guys in position to be really, really good at what they do. And I just don't see that from Canada.
Earlier tonight, you're right, Dad. Earlier tonight, there was a play that the Lions needed. This is way before it was out of reach. Yeah. And they got a guy from Iowa, a tight end, Sam Laporta.
Yep.
Who is not perfect. He's a rookie.
Yep.
And they schemed this fucker up, and it was a perfect play. And then the next drive, he dropped a sure first down. And I'm just okay, he's a rookie. I get it.
Yeah.
But at least Ben Johnson, I think, is their offensive coordinator. And he at least understands that when I need this play, I'm going to go to somebody that I know is going to get open based on whatever coverage is out there. And I'm going to call this rep. Matt Canada absolutely is not doing that. There's no question.
I
fuck you too, Johnny.
Disagree.
Johnny, I appreciate you. I've talked enough.
Love you, Johnny. Thanks for coming on. It's not the same without a few fuck you, Johnnies.
Fuck you, Johnny.
Steelers will play the Texans this week. It's going to be actually a big day. J.J. Watt will have his number retired. I believe he's going to be the first Houston Texan to have his number retired.
Appropriate.
Yeah, very appropriate. And I also think that's going to fire up one Mr. T.J. Watt.
T.J. Watt.
I was going to call him Trent, but I decided to go with T.J. And they are not expected to have their full complement of offensive linemen. In fact, they'll be starting a guy by the name of Kendrick Green at a guard, possibly a third stringer at one of the tackle spots. And CJ Stroud had a great game last week. He's looked better each week. But Ian, as you pointed out, I think that score ended up like 37-17, but it was a really weird game, wasn't it?
Yeah, they won by like 21 or something. I think they won by 21, but there was basically a 17-point swing in that the Texans ran a kickoff back for a touchdown that like their fullback got on an up kicker. It was weird. So they ran a kickoff back for a touchdown, and they blocked a field goal and then scored a touchdown on the ensuing drive. So right there, you figure 2 touchdowns is 14 plus blocking a field goal is another -3. So that's a 17-point swing right there. But
Yeah.
I mean, the Texans right now are kind of playing the like YOLO offense if we have nothing to lose, because everybody expected them to be bad and they have a rookie quarterback. So they're like, let's just chuck the ball down the field and see how it goes. And, they don't have a coach that has a never had a losing season streak going that they have to preserve. So they're not playing it conservative. They're going for it. And if Stroud throws 4 interceptions, he throws 4 interceptions, or he might throw 4 touchdowns.
Right.
I don't want to put this on CJ Stroud, but it's almost like a Jay Cutler type performance where he could throw 4 picks or throw 4 touchdowns. But they're going to go for it, and they're going to chuck the ball around the yard. And they've got a pretty good running back in Pierce too.
I like Pierce, runs hard. This kid Tank Dell is sneaky quick. He's made some plays already in the first 3 weeks. So, I don't think Mike Tomlin and this team is overlooking anybody. They really shouldn't be. I mean, do you guys see us trying to establish the run again this week as we attempted to last week? Try to set up the play action.
I think that Kendrick Green is definitely going to step his game up this week and have some revenge versus the Steelers. And you guys are really sleeping. Revenge. You guys are sleeping on Kendrick Green. I'm just saying.
Are you also suggesting that he's going to get some carries at fullback too?
Absolutely. But I do think, yes, Mark, you are correct. The Steelers offense is going to try to establish the run as they fucking should. Maybe they can learn to block together as a unit or something if they do. Probably not, but maybe. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Defensively, I think it's going to be the opportunity. Obviously, stop the run, but get pressure when you're going up against Kendrick Green. I'm sorry, whoever's over Kendrick Green or in that general area has to get pressure.
Whichever defensive tackle is in the gap around Kendrick Green better get pressure.
Yeah.
On every pass play.
What happens if he has a really good game?
I will shit myself.
Then we say,
because I'm worried about Steelers coaching. That's what I'm worried about.
But we saw a couple of different coaches. Actually, 3 if you really want to look at it that way.
Yeah.
3 different line coaches, and we saw the same result. And his issues seemed to be with his quickness. Like people just kept going across his face. Like they would line up on his right and come across him to the left, and he still couldn't block them.
Yeah, I will be stunned if we don't find success against him.
I will be shocked as well. I'll be very surprised if Green is in the league next year.
Well, that very well maybe too.
The dude can, he's strong as an ox. There's a video out there of him squatting 700 pounds. That's all well and good. You're a big, strong dude, but you're not athletic enough to play guard in the NFL.
Right.
And you definitely were not athletic enough to pass on Creed Humphrey in the 2nd round and instead take you in the 3rd.
Ian, what do you?
I'm just fucking saying.
And I'm hearing. Ian, what do you got for a prediction this week?
All right. So we talked about the whole, Kenny's never thrown 2 touchdowns in a game before. We finally got off the schneid with that one.
Yeah.
I think they start to put a little bit more together this week. It's still not going to be pretty, but I think they'll do enough. I don't think they're good enough to score 30 yet, but I'm going to say Steelers 27, Texans 17.
Okay, well, 10-point spread there. Scarps, what do you got?
Oh, boy.
I almost went 24-17, but I gave Boswell an extra. It's in a dome, so give Boswell another 50 yards.
So Ian has picked the Steelers 4 straight weeks.
Wow.
And
you were
he's
the
2-1.
He's 2-1,
so
but he's
far.
picked the Steelers 4
Mhm.
straight weeks.
Yeah.
So you know what? I'm gonna have to pick against them 4 straight weeks.
Wait, you said you were picking the Steelers
Yeah,
to
you
win
said earlier.
I did. Yes, I think that the pass rush for the Steelers is going to be the X factor here.
That was
It
almost
ain't
my
gonna
pick.
it ain't gonna be pretty, but I think the Steelers win 16-13.
Oh,
okay.
God. A field goal fest in a dome.
That's fine.
Ben, what do you got?
I got Steelers winning this one in an ugly one. I'm going to say Steelers 23, Texans 20.
Ooh, okay, field goal though. Okay.
Yeah. I with the potential for our outside linebackers to have a big day, I think we're going to see a lot of screens, a lot of draws, stuff like that to try to slow them down. They might hit a big player too early, but I think the Steelers understand what they've got waiting for them. They've got the Ravens coming in next week, then they get a bye. And then things really start getting serious out of that bye. So
then things start really getting serious.
I'm gonna say 24. I'm gonna say 24-17 also, Ian. I'm gonna go with that one as well. It's kind of what I've had in my head.
Oh, we all picked the Steelers.
Yeah, I just can't go against them this week. I mean, I think Stroud can hit some big plays. Don't get me wrong, but I can't see it.
I will say this though, and I still pick the Steelers, but they won the past 2 games that maybe they shouldn't. Oh well, the Browns was a toss-up, but they usually don't win on the
Browns.
road against the Raiders. So I
Mhm.
feel that like if there is a letdown, that this could be that week. And don't tell me they haven't been let down before
Oh.
against the Texans.
They have. And Mike Tomlin already said this week he's not using that whole plane episode as an excuse either. So their week has been disrupted a tad.
Although
he did use that
had to have
whole
been pretty fucked.
that whole plane disruption thing as a reason not to play and practice a bunch of guys on Wednesday.
Yeah, right.
So
right. Well, we'll see how that factors us in. Is Casey Kasem ready? Has he emerged from the grave?
Always
Always
ready.
All right. Casey's coast to coast.
Hold
geez.
1 second. Let me wet the whistle here.
Jamie. 30-20.
Wow. 30. Holy
Yeah.
moly. Casey's coast to coast. American Top 40. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the week that was September 28th, 1981. Our favorite correspondent, Ryan, is once again back with us this week, and he writes, Dear Casey. Casey, I'm sure you've seen by now that I once again have a mustache. My mustache is very similar to Kenny Pickett and Matt Canada. Every once in a while, it looks okay, and you think, yeah, it's only going to get better. But most of the time, it looks trashier than Times Square in the 1970s. For those listening, there's a show on HBO called The Deuce that shows just how dirty it actually was. I highly recommend it. Speaking of dirty, I'm looking at you, TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith. It's almost unfair that we have you both on the edge. And then there's Minka in the back. I mentioned trash earlier, or as I like to call it, the other 8 guys on defense. Have you ever seen a defensive back turn for a ball as late as Patrick Peterson did the other night? Hell, Devontae Adams was walking to the Bellagio before Patrick Peterson knew what happened. But it's okay. He could have had that interception too. Speaking of off-season free agent acquisitions, I've been underwhelmed by almost all of them. Suomala looks like he's sleeping. Holcomb can't cover. Allen Robinson is a non-factor. Desmond King, has he even seen a defensive snap? Perhaps he's not the con artist, after all.
Ooh.
It's almost like we should wait to see how things pan out before sunshining it up on Twitter. However, as I have been saying, keeping Matt Canada was the biggest offseason move the Steelers made. This is simply one I cannot justify. Good for him for calling a better game against a terrible defense, and good for Pickett for playing a better game. I mean, he still bails on pockets, gets scared shitless when it comes to interior pressure, and rolls the dice by throwing it directly to former All-Pro cornerbacks that forgot they had hands. They say Art II is the one that wanted Canada on his staff in the first place, and Art is the reason he's still around. I don't get it. What's Arthur's theme? Well, Ryan, you're in for a treat.
Oh, Jesus.
5 spots to number 2 this week. Here's Christopher Cross with Arthur's theme.
A little yacht rock to wrap up the show. You gotta
Wow.
love it. Christopher freaking Cross. Oh man, that guy can just do it too, and I'm telling you, he really can.
Perhaps Matt Canada can ride like the wind out of Pittsburgh.
With Michael
please.
McDonald on the backup vocals, by the way. Yeah, that dude did a lot of backup vocals. Anyway, thanks so much to everybody for jumping on the show. As always, it is amazing how we used to just go 45 minutes, and nowadays we do an hour and 20 minutes, and it feels like
It's definitely
that.
my fault.
Feels like we
it's
didn't talk
everybody's-
about enough.
Yeah, right. It's just incredible.
I blame
but-
Mark.
Shit,
Definitely
blame
me.
me for everybody else does. Anyway, thanks so much. Make sure you check out the site, steelcityblitz.com. Check out our socials at SC Blitz on the Twitter or X or whatever the hell they call it.
Twatter.
All that stuff too. And hey, make sure you check out that brand new TikTok account.
Brand new.
It would be at the Steel City Blitz. That's right. We have a tickety talk, kids. Get out there and enjoy it. And for these guys, I'm signing off. Enjoy the game this weekend, everybody. And this has been the SCB Steelers Podcast presented by DEK Roofing Incorporated of South Florida. And hey, go Steelers.
Ravens suck.
Can't believe they got beat by the fucking Colts. That was